They used to say the game was harmless, a circle of children, laughter, linked arms, calls across a field. Red Rover, Red Rover, send someone right over. It sounded innocent enough. Just a playground chant, a way to pass time before homework, before dinner, before dusk. But that was before they knew, before they started noticing the gaps, the absences, the silences left behind by the ones who ran too fast or didn't make it back. No one thought twice when the first child disappeared. Not really. Children wander, children run away, children fall into rivers or hide in closets and make the world hold its breath. But this was different. It began behind a red brick school in a half-forgotten town, surrounded by endless woods and roads that led nowhere. The schoolyard had once been bright, but now the paint peeled from the swing sets and the tetherball ropes hung limp and frayed. But the field behind the gym, the wide, beaten-down patch of dirt and brittle grass, was still alive. The children called it the yard. It wasn't monitored by teachers. There were no fences, just old trees and sky and something in the air that felt hollow and sharp, like breathing in a secret. Every day after school, the kids would gather in the yard to play Red Rover. They called names, they ran, they held tight, and they laughed, always laughter, even when someone fell hard, even when someone didn't get back up, even when Eli disappeared. Eli had always been strange, not in the way that children dislike, but in the way they forget. He was small and pale and soft-spoken, the kind of boy who sat at the edge of the room, who got skipped when they picked teams, who didn't fight back when teased. But he played. He always played. The children would form two lines on opposite sides of the field, arms linked, sneakers grinding into the dry dirt, and then, like clockwork, Red Rover, Red Rover, send Eli right over. He ran always, head down, eyes wide, not eager, never smiling. It was more like compulsion, like he had no choice. Sometimes he broke through, sometimes he didn't, but when he was caught, when the hands locked around his wrists and he stumbled to a stop, he looked afraid, terrified even. None of them asked why. None of them stopped. Not until the new girl arrived. Her name was Clara. She was taller than most, with pale hair braided tightly down her back, and a gaze that felt older than her years. She didn't speak much on her first day, but when the bell rang and the children ran to the yard, she followed. She stood at the edge, arms crossed, watching the game unfold. It took 10 minutes for her to speak. Why do you always call Eli? The others looked at her. A girl named Ruth rolled her eyes. Because he's easy. Clara tilted her head. Easy. Yeah. He never breaks through. Or if he does, it doesn't hurt. Clara frowned. That's not how the game works. Ruth shrugged. It's just a game. Clara stepped onto the field, her boots crunching the dry earth. Number it's not. They called Eli again. He hesitated this time, just a second. But they all watched him run, just like always. This time, no one caught him. He passed right through the linked arms as if they weren't there, kept running, past the field, into the woods behind the school. Someone shouted, laughed nervously, but Eli didn't turn back. he didn't come to school the next day or the day after. Police were called. Dogs sniffed the trees. Helicopters circled. Nothing. No footprints. No scent. No torn clothes or dropped shoes. Just silence. The official word was run away. But the children knew better. They kept playing. Weeks passed. Winter crept in. The field turned grey and stiff with frost. Clara stayed. She didn't play, just watched. Every afternoon, she stood at the edge with a notebook. She scribbled lines and symbols, drew maps of the field, counted children. One day, she said aloud, to no one in particular, "It's always even numbers." Ruth glanced over. What? Clara didn't look up. The players, the runners, the ones who stay. It always balances. Ruth scoffed. That's stupid. But that day, Ruth didn't run. She stood in the line, arms linked, heart pounding. And when the others called Clara's name, without warning, almost like a reflex, Clara didn't move. She stood in the middle of the field. "Who did you just invite?" she asked. They blinked. "You," someone said. "No," Clara whispered. "Not me." That night, Ruth vanished, gone from her bed, window locked, nothing but a smear of dirt beneath the covers. The next morning, Clara added a red X to her map. It wasn't a game anymore, but they kept playing. Sometimes because they forgot, sometimes because they felt it watching. The field seemed to pulse now. The trees leaned closer. The dirt felt soft and wrong, like skin stretched over something that moved. The calls changed. "Red Rover, Red Rover." Sometimes they said names that no one recognised. Sometimes a child would be called, and they'd run, not because they wanted to, but because something pulled them. Clara began recording the names. She filled pages. She stopped going to class, sat in the library instead, reading old yearbooks, local news, missing persons. She found a pattern. Every 10 years, a spike in child disappearances, always after school, always near open fields, always following that chant. She found a photo from 1971, a boy with sad eyes and a crooked smile. Beneath it, a caption, "Eli Tamerlane, class clown." She stared at the photo for a long time. Eli, but that was 50 years ago. Clara's parents pulled her from the school not long after. She had started sleepwalking, talking in tongues, drawing circles in black crayon on the walls, and muttering about the chain. They moved away, far from the woods, far from the field. But Clara didn't stop writing. In her final notebook entry, she left one warning. It grows when you forget. It feeds on games. Every chant is a ritual. Every name is a thread. If you are called, do not run. If you run, you will be taken. And if you take a hand, you are part of the chain. Years passed. The school closed. The town shrank. But the game didn't die. It migrated. There's a video circulating online, pixelated, poorly lit, shot on an old phone. A row of children standing in the dark. Flashlights flicker. A voice chants, Red Rover, send. The audio cuts, then resumes. A scream, static. The screen goes black. Text appears. Play at your own risk. Most people scroll past, but a few don't. Naomi was one of them. She was 17, smart, skeptical, obsessed with urban legends. She stumbled on the video during a 3 a.m. Reddit binge. She watched it twice, then again. Something about it didn't feel staged. The next day, she posted in a forum, "Has anyone actually played the Red Rover game at night?" asking for research. Someone replied, "Anonymous user, no profile picture, just a comment. Only once. My brother ran. He didn't come back." She messaged them. They never answered. That night, she dreamed of a field she'd never seen. It was huge, endless. The sky was purple and wrong, and the grass was brittle as bone. There were children standing in 2 lines, not facing each other, facing her. They didn't speak, but their mouths opened wide, too wide, and in the silence she heard it. Red Rover, Red Rover. When she woke up, her bedroom light was on. She never left it on. She brushed it off. Probably a dream. Maybe she bumped the switch. But her phone was unlocked too. A voice memo had been recorded at 3:12 a.m. She played it. It was just whispering, layered voices, children. And in the middle of the whispering, send Naomi right over. She dropped her phone. Didn't sleep the next night, or the next. She blocked out the windows, deleted her social apps. Still, the name came. Naomi. In the static of the TV, in the pattern of the rain, in the silence between breaths. It wasn't calling, it was waiting. They say the chain has grown too long now, that it's spread through playgrounds and suburbs, across countries and oceans, that there's no longer one field, but thousands. Each time the game is played, it opens a door. Each time a name is called, the chain tightens. It doesn't matter if you believe. Children believe. Children play. They teach the chant. They laugh. They forget. And when the chant becomes instinct, when the name comes out unbidden, the chain grows stronger. You'll know it's reached you when you start waking with dirt under your fingernails. Your closet smells like old earth and rain. You hear your name from places you know are empty. If you play the game, don't. If someone else starts it, leave. If you hear your name, run the other way. But whatever you do, don't take their hand, because once you do, you're part of the chain, and the chain never lets go.